All right. So for the rarest of occasions, Carrie's behind the camera, and I'm live. I have Jenny DeRochers. Did I say it right again?
DeRocher, you got it.
DeRochers.
There's no S on the end.
I know. It's
DeRocher.
okay. Everyone knows the S. It's fine.
I'm French-ish, so we're here at Cider Hill Farm, a farm that I've been coming to 20-ish years, and I now get the behind the scenes. We just have wandered in like a tourist every single time. But we're going to ask you all kinds of questions about the farm. You want to try to do the launch of the show?
Sure.
Hit a button.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. All right. So, Jenny, it's freezing cold. It
A little chilly.
March. It's right before your season. So your season is in a couple of weeks or so.
Yep. So we always open towards middle to late April. We actually used to open right the weekend before Mother's Day, but then when we added tulips, which was a new crop for us in 2020, we opened a couple weeks earlier.
Are tulips easy or hard to do? They're bulbs, so they're pretty hardy, right?
So they're hardy. They are, unlike a lot of other things we do here, it's, you plant and it's one crop, right? Our apple trees, we plant once. These guys have been here for 43 years. So tulips, it's a little bit more, in the sense of it's one yield per season. But at the same time, we put them in the ground, they come up, and then we move on to the next thing. So.
Well, let's turn, which is tricky, but let's turn.
Turn,
I'm going this way. Annette says we're on a field trip today.
So these are 43-year-old Cortland, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How many different breed of apple? You don't even call it breed, do you?
Varieties
do we have on the farm right now, roughly?
So around 65, I think. Every time we add trees, we take trees out, but I would say we're in the 60s for the varieties. Some trees we don't have a lot of, some we have multiple rows of. Some of the newer trees we planted are more hard cider variety specifics. So some of the very old, more English varieties that you don't really see, they're also, of course, more difficult varieties because that's how it goes. But yeah, so around 60 in the 60s.
So which apples? I mean, it's gonna be like Macintosh has to be like the basic. Because like everybody wants one of those. Everyone wants a Cortland.
Yep.
Golden Delicious, probably Granny Smith. What's exciting to pick and what's not exciting to pick?
So we grow a Matsu variety, which is what we kind of claim as it's kind of like the New England R variety of Granny Smith. So it's a green apple. Glenn, the owner, don't tell anybody, but Matsu's and all of his passwords for everything he used to log on because it's his favorite apple.
One more time.
So right, don't tell him.
In the current year.
So, Matsu, I think for us it's something that people don't know. Like everyone's like, what about Granny Smith? So it's a fun little sneaky education moment.
Nice.
My favorite apple is probably, I love a good ambrosia apple.
Okay.
Which is also kind of one, it's not as much a well-known one. It's a little bit of a sneakier one. Honeycrisp, if we're talking about the basic apples, I would say Honeycrisp is the bougie one.
I see.
That is very popular right now. Everyone wants Honeycrisp. We don't have as many of those as we'd like, so it is something we're looking at, for the future as we expand, because that one is definitely it's the trendy apple right now.
Trendy apples. I knew there would be though.
Yes, there always is.
I feel like there's that, and we're going to talk about hard cider later because you've straight on cider for a long time. A hard cider lasts 6 years. How many years?
10 minutes in my house.
Yeah, so it's the apples, the sweet apple cider. We obviously it's unpasteurized, so we get a week to 2 weeks out of it. But the cider in the bottle, some of our varieties age very well, and you can kind of store them for a long time.
How long have you been making hard cider again? Was that the one from 2017?
So that we opened the cider in 2017. Chad, who's Glenn and Karen, the owner's his son, so he's third generation for the farm. He's been making it since I believe his college dorm room days. When,
wow.
A little after school project that really inspired him.
We don't talk about that.
It was for a class, though. Nice. So he's been kind of dabbling in it. He worked at some local breweries to kind of get a little bit more of an operational sense of it before we opened ours in 2017.
Now what's going on with these trees right now? Because I'm not seeing any apples.
So these guys, this is the behind the scenes. So there are no apples, but if you look, you can kind of start to see we have some little bitty babies here. So these are the buds. In a couple weeks they blossom. Everyone thinks of, DC, Washington DC cherry blossoms. Well, we have beautiful blossoms here too. So, the orchards go into full bloom. Our peaches are actually pink. So a lot of people see the peach blossoms and think they're cherries. But yeah, so these, the trees we hand prune all of the trees during the winter, which is pretty much, the process of just getting rid of some old wood, and, creating more space, more, the spacing of everything, making sure the tree is able to get the proper sunlight, that the branches aren't overloaded with fruit. So we do that, which literally takes all winter. Our team starts in January, and they're just starting to finish up now.
So how many trees altogether?
So over 10,000 trees on the
Wow.
farm. Yeah.
So this is one of your orchards. There's the one up the hill that I'm thinking of that people take for the how do you call it? You don't call it commercial. What do you call it? Like for the
Hayride.
okay, so the hayride and stuff, but like your hooligan part of the farm that you can let like idiots and not dogs walk around.
Yeah.
What's that part called?
So this, the farm is unique in the sense we have, Fern Ave that goes right, and they were two separate farms at one time. So this was actually the Vedrani farm, and that was a poultry farm.
Oh wow!
And one of the Vedrani family members is actually currently working on our bakery expansion. So full circle.
Hey, we're expanding the bakery, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm saving some nuggets for later. And then the other side was actually the Baddest Dairy Farm. So the barn that the farm store is actually built in was a dairy farm. So anyway, so we do have the two sides. So this orchard we call Block 5.
Okay.
And then on the other side is where we have Block 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6.
So, who becomes a general manager of a farm? I gotta imagine you weren't playing with like the Fisher Price barn, and you're like, I love that. And
So no, I think, when I went to college for business, and I also thought I was going to move to New York City and work in the fashion industry.
like
so,
you do,
pretty much very similar.
Yeah.
Overall, not much change.
fashion and farm.
Fashion farm, replaced heels for boots. But I came in 10 years ago as the farm store manager because there was the small business, Glenn and Karen, they have something incredible that they've built here, and the thought of being able to work under Glenn and just kind of pick his brain. My farming experience was minimal, very minimal. I grew up in Vermont. I grew up around lots of dairy farms. I didn't work on one. I didn't, so the agriculture side was very new to me, but it's something that I love. I love learning. So it's something, to always learn more. And over, when I took over as general manager, it really became kind of more of a core. And
Get it?
Yeah.
Oh, more of a core.
Yeah. Yes. She did that on purpose.
She did that on purpose.
Yes.
Annette says, now I see why we're on the field trip, not the tulips or the apples. It's all about the cider. That will offset the chili
Well, we'll
weather.
get there.
We are.
Get there. So there's so many moving parts to this farm. There's education. There's the retail traffic. There's the bakery. There's, obviously some amount of sales on apples that we have to make for the. Do you also go out to? Do any of your apples leave to go to restaurants and things like
Do
that?
they leave to go to college, get an education?
They leave the farm. They go on to make bigger and better apples. So it depends on the season. Because of the hard cider, we are pressing so many apples. Our pick your own crowd has grown over the past few years. So whereas before we were wholesaling more, and we work with some like local places like schools, like to do smaller orders.
Sure.
But we really, a big portion of what we're doing is actually staying on farm now.
So on farm, wow. I'm trying to think through, do you just make all your money in a season and call it a day, or is the cidery help with that? It seems like a kind of business where the money does this.
Oh, it's a real, and then there's a real deep
Right.
dive, and then it's the fun game of like, are we going to come out of that deep hole? So it's cyclical, and there is that. My goal over the past few years has been really to diversify us in ways that make sense.
Sure.
Tulips, it's a spring crop. We don't have a spring crop, right? So to kind of help, we have a CSA program, which, people sign up for in the spring. So for as far as just a cash flow, right? Like that's kind of where CSAs came from, was to get money to buy seeds. And so my goal as general manager has been to try and make the dips not quite as aggressive.
Makes sense.
Last year we lost our peach crop. So and that's a huge crop for us for August and early September, late July through early September. So it is, there are the dips, and it is definitely a unique roller coaster ride to go on. But we learn every year, and we plan for the best, but we prepare for the worst.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
Leslie does maple cropping every year. She taps and makes maple syrup every year.
Oh,
So-
I love that, Leslie.
She has a little she shed where I just watched the whole process go, where she built out all the sugar and cooked
Yeah.
it all
Sugar
down and
shack?
everything.
I love it. I'm from Vermont. I grew up in Vermont, so I
You
grew up
know
tapping
well.
trees and watching my mom burn the sap every year.
Oh
Every-
no. No, we heard there were raspberries too.
So yeah, so if you turn around,
Right.
this is we have the two raspberry bushes. These are kind of they're like two, but they're kind of one. And then we have another raspberry patch in the backfield. And so the raspberries, I would say been one of our more growing. They kind of used to be one of those things where we have them and then we not have them, but we really kind of also invested some more time in really building more of a pick your own crowd for them because they are very popular and people want them. They're just very
So that's what they look like in winter.
Very
I was looking at like
succulent.
these are raspberries in winter, everybody.
Yeah. So they're definitely, even last, when we had the temps that killed the peach buds, we did see damage on the raspberries. And just also in the summer, they get sunburned easily.
Me
so they're
too,
really-
raspberries.
Sunburned raspberries. They still taste good. They just have little white spots on them.
Which make people.
And
freak
then
out.
sometimes people think, it's more than it is, but it's just a little sunburn. They just forgot to put their SPF on.
It's so wild to imagine. So some of this goes to the pick your own type people, but this also is part of what you put into your hard cider. When you make the regular sweet cider, I'm having trouble knowing what you call both. Is it sweet cider and hard?
Yeah.
So you get one price, which is for some people they see it and they're like, oh, that's a premium, and they don't realize how much goes into making that.
Yeah.
But of course, you get to make even more if you can stretch it. What's the economics between sweet cider and hard cider?
Yeah. So the sweet cider, we kind of always said that we really it's not a high profit, it's not a big profit margin for
Sure.
us. It really is kind of more of those staple items, right? It's the one thing like you have to have sweet cider.
Right.
So it's never really been like a big, it's more of like a, I guess they call it like loss leaders, right? Like something
Right.
that's kind of, but it's never been one of our big cash cows. The hard cider concept came from obviously, if you look at what a gallon of cider is versus a gallon of alcohol, right? Very
Right.
different
Right.
situations. It also gave us a way to use fruit that is not, people don't want to pick it. Last year's a great example. Strawberry season. It rained all of strawberry season. And the berries were just, they're wet. They get soft very easily. And pick your own side. They're not going to pick that. And we can't sell that in our farm store. So being able to harvest that, it's definitely, there's the higher profit, but there's also a great use of it's a really good reuse, recycle.
Right. We're not
vision.
wasting.
No, we really, the amount the waste on the farm is very minimal because of the ability to kind of mush it up and stick it into booze.
Leslie says this is my kind of field trip.
Well, maybe we can try to risk jumping on the vehicle. And see
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, should we go for a little ride?
Do it?
Yeah, everyone, let's go for a ride.
Let's go for a ride.
So the fun part is, everyone, I'm going to be sitting on the back, so you'll be getting a little bit of bounce. Just hang in there with us. It's not loud. Don't worry. Very quiet. Stop checking Slack.
Shush.
Everyone, this is Val.
Say hi, Val.
She's going to be my second camera person.
Hi.
Yeah, so we're on the thing as we ride.
All right.
Are
Don't
we
kill
ready?
us. I'm ready.
Okay.
Here we go, everybody.
Here we go.
How much acreage does this whole thing cover?
So the entire farm is 145 acres
Wow.
between both sides.
Yeah.
We grow, we actually just did, we've been working on land development over the past few years because obviously we are finding that we need more land, which is always exciting.
Yeah.
And it's really more of a matter of just putting more, effort into turning some of these fields over, putting compost in them, better drainage for them. We've invested a lot of money into just kind of field maintenance. Oh, look, our gate closed a little bit. I got it.
Jenny DeRocher does it all
Do it all, folks.
with one hand.
Gate operation. She carried a coffee to me one-handed. That was impressive.
She actually offered coffee to everyone, I would like to point out. She's very gracious.
She can do it all. We believe in caffeine on the farm.
One thing we didn't exactly highlight, you've got 2 windmills up here.
Yep.
You've got a big pile of solar banks and everything like that.
Yep.
The alternative energy sources, is that more for education? Is it more for actually trying to get more energy usage?
the cider refrigeration, we dropped down probably to more like the 60%.
Sure.
But we actually are working. We have a grant in right now, so it could be more solar coming up. We'll have to wait and see. The wind turbines, when we got them, it was very early on in the wind energy. So they're really not in features. They're just a little outdated at this point. But we love the story that they tell and the anchor that they have. We don't want them on those really windy days because it does sound like a 747 is taking off behind you. But they're fine. It is actually kind of cool. If you look out this way, you can kind of see the 3 different solar installations kind of show different, year over year as solar has changed.
Right.
And the ones farthest, kind of the ones flat, those are the tracker systems. So they actually move. So they track the sun. So that's one of our latest installations.
That's wild. And the ones closest to us are the newer, the in between age?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we are going around back.
Wow. Where only the bees and the workers go.
So, this is normally during fall, this whole alleyway is just filled with bins of apples. And it's a little bit more.
It looks like an
Picturesque.
airplane hangar.
Yes. And we're actually going to go in here.
Okay.
Thank you. I almost appeared in my own show. I can't have that.
Be on the show.
Little
Oh,
dark.
Thank
so
you.
dark. Follow Jenny's voice.
Woohoo!
Follow my voice. So this dark space is where we press the cider and we make our jam when we're in season.
This is cool. This is exactly what my mom told me not to do. Don't follow strangers into warehouses.
Dark bars.
So all our tanks are over here. So we started. This is
Hi
Chris,
there.
my husband,
Hi, Chris and Chris, the
who
host.
is helping in the hard cidery world.
Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 8 big bags.
Yeah, and we started with 3, which were 3 small vats. So we just started with these 3, and it's just been growing.
It's expanded
Yes. it's
from that
expanded.
dorm room all those years ago.
So honestly, I know.
How big are these? How many gallons?
So this is where the expert
Sorry.
comes in. I screw my numbers up.
We're breaking
myself.
up a
Chris,
little inside, Chris.
Volume
Yeah.
of these tanks.
So 500 gallons in this one, 1,500 in those tanks.
Good Lord.
So, yeah.
And how many runs in a season? Is that even a way to ask that question? Because
Yeah.
usually, like, beer is by barrel, right? Or
Yeah, so this is a 15 barrel and that's a 45 barrel.
Okay.
We'll do typically 1 run a year, so it's all our own apples that we're pressing across the board. We do freeze some concentrate that we'll do a second run, which you'll typically be like our ice ciders or something like that. So that will be, once we kind of clear up some tank space, we keg DHA, we're gonna bottle some of them up next week, and then now we'll open up some tank space to start the ice cider.
Wow.
And then actually you can see the barrels. So these are bourbon barrels that we put our ice winter in. So we have a bourbon barrel aged, which so good.
So you source
Very
those
good.
from Kentucky, like all the good bourbon barrels of the world?
So Chad, who's the cider maker, cider founder, he has great relationships with kind of other distilleries, breweries, so he's kind of always meeting people. And I think, we had privateer rum barrels for the rum aged winter we did a few years ago. So very fun
Very
collaborations.
All right.
So they're saying audio is good. The images are like a flip book. So
Oh.
get a close look at this.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Because if I hold it here for a second, you'll see how cool this is. And the size of these tanks. That's a lot of cider.
So it is.
Is this a bottling?
Yep, so this is one of the, we set, when we bottle, which we'll be bottling our autumn cider next week. It comes out, we kind of set this whole area up, so it's a full bottling area.
Got it.
But yes, so we put 4 bottles at a time, which takes a lot of
Takes
time.
a little time to get
It's a long few
very
days
many barrels.
when we're getting these tanks out, yes. Yeah,
But those aren't cheap, so you have to wait a while before you're gonna get a bigger bottle.
yeah. I would
Thank
say
you.
that, the cidery is, from a business standpoint, right, like it is a good moneymaker, but it is a heavy, investment side of things.
Very upfront investment.
Very heavy upfront
Yeah.
investment. Yes.
All this, your lab kind of gear, everything like that must be a lot too.
Yes. it adds up very quickly down here. But you know, it really, in a lot of ways, it is the future of the farm. And you know, it does allow us to control some things. We can't control if it's going to rain on our strawberry festival and no one will come pick the strawberries, but we can put them into cider.
Kerry, let's turn. I want to have the barrels because I just realized we're just looking at it.
Oh yeah,
Kitchen
this
stuff
is not very fun.
and a
We'll get you a
power
better
bar.
shot.
But I did have so to that question of the future of the farm, and all,
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit about there's hobby farms.
Yep.
This size is sort of a mid-size versus big commercial farms.
Yeah.
How does somebody say in this universe, I think this is what I'm going to do to run a business? Like this is a challenging business to choose.
Yeah. So it's very hard, right? You know, when you hit kind of the more commercial, like, you know, they're only growing 3 crops, maybe, right? And that they're growing them all on massive scales.
Right.
We, our farming team is incredibly talented that they can manage so many diverse crops. You know, there are days where, you know, there's just so much happening at one time, and Gregor is our field manager and his brother Marin is our assistant field. And it's like, they just run around all day and they just try to keep up with everything. You know, so it really takes the right person to be like, yeah, I want to handle all of these different elements. You know, I think for us, it's the farming side of it. Feeding people is a passion of ours, and watching people come on farm and have that experience of like picking a strawberry from a plant is that education that we love. You know, so it's the feeding, but it's also the education and like seeing kids see where their food comes from.
Right.
You know, that is the goal.
Right. That makes sense to me.
We might want to stand somewhere the signal's better out, even though it's cold.
Oh, it's a metal, it's a tin box.
Yeah.
So we can go into the dusty, dark and dusty farm.
I love dark and dusty.
You can see a little free.
Let's
Thanks,
go. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
It's looking great in there.
So, yeah, we can kind of so, you know, we're a month away from opening.
Yeah. Everybody pardon our,
Pardon our dust.
So,
Can
and
you do
there's
it?
If you
a
go.
whole construction going on, so.
Oh, that doesn't make it that hard. You gotta be careful.
We've done this before because we came here when the business was open in the fall, and we were eating donuts and buying many things.
I get a real behind the scenes.
Not open yet. When does this?
Over here where it's not so,
Well, the next couple of weeks is the first opening of the season.
Woohoo!
Does this open in a couple of weeks?
So yes, yeah.
Wow.
So it's not, you know, so the barn, we have, you know, small heaters, but like it's not winterized. So we kind of have to play a very fun game of like, when can we turn the heat on and stock the shelves and get this place open? But our team does it. They can do it in 2.5 weeks. It moves very quickly.
Wow.
Yep. So, but yeah, right now I know it is the kind of craziness of like, are we opening? Oh yeah, we're gonna be open, and everyone's always surprised when they walk in because they're like, wait, we just saw on Facebook it was completely empty last week. But it moves fast
It goes
because everyone also like we all want to open. We get by that point we're like, get us there, we want people, like, so everyone moves fast.
So again, we've only ever experienced it as a consumer. So we show up, there's a nice grill, there's all the hay rides, there's all the pick your own, there's all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this has to be, this is the time of the season where we're still waiting for everything to even start growing.
Yeah.
So people are anxious to get in. So you have to manage some inventory. You have to manage the things that people can get at, like bakery.
Yep.
You mentioned the bakery's expanding. For all the time I've ever been here, the only thing I've ever known is the little corner where I can watch the little Cider Hill donuts go up and land in the oil.
That's
all
my-
you need to
It's
know.
my favorite corner.
And I get to, in the whale days, you could be there early enough. You could get the hot bags.
Yep.
Now there's like such a production, like you have to kind of hope.
Yeah.
You're expanding the bakery as well. Talk
So
about
yeah, so we're sitting in the back of house bakery area.
that. Okay.
You know, operationally, the feeding people on the farm, you know, I think there's been a big shift. You know, 5 to 10 years ago, people came to a farm to pick apples, and then
Right.
you kind of left to go eat. And now, especially with the addition of the cider, we have an on-site hard cider bar. And now there is that collaboration of like keeping people feeding the people. So we are, our back of house space, we are expanding a little bit to be able to have some more kitchen space to just be able to better support our feeding of the people.
Wow.
Yeah.
The grill, you usually have a couple of vendors out front.
Yep. Yep. So and we have our food truck, so that we have our food truck on site. And then we do have, we've added a lot of other food trucks who come on site too. I think, the partnerships that we build and the vendors we work with is a huge piece of what we do. And it's also a huge piece of just being able to work with other small businesses. And like, there's always those moments where these small businesses, they start with us and then they hit that point of they're like, we're kind of too busy, right? Like, or we've grown so much. And it's always that bittersweet, they start, and but it's fun. It's so fun to watch these businesses come in as just starting and just wanting to try and trial some stuff and meet some people, and then they go off to these big, exciting adventures.
So person of the day.
So we can do person of the day. I don't know who's.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
Okay, who's it going to be? I think it has to be Annette for telling us that the video was breaking up in the tin room.
Thank you,
So
Annette.
thanks, Annette.
Farm Wi-Fi.
That gets you a
there.
free apple. You
That
just
gets
have
you
to
a free
get
apple.
here once the apples are out and you can pick your own.
We say that every episode. That whenever the person of the day gets a free apple. So
Look at that.
Does
it's
that
never
make
ever
sense?
been.
And then come find me for your free apple.
It's only a 3,500-mile flight, but you can
Yes,
get it.
and you just can't come until probably, end of August.
Anyway,
And of course, you're going to have to ask Jenny the backpack
yeah. So
question.
the only thing I didn't prep you for, it's one question we've asked every guest who's
Okay.
ever been on. Sister Anne Flanagan, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Butterscotch, the world's female beatbox champion. What goes in your backpack? It is either something physical, like a journal, or something metaphorical, like hope for the future.
Oh.
So what would be something you
so
might have
bad
for the
on the
backpack?
spot.
No, come on. Something
Um,
you carry with you everywhere that you can't live without in your day-to-day, besides coffee.
So, oh, geez, I'm very bad at these things. Val is just over there. Okay, so I would say,
Coaching from the back,
Val's
the stage
the
mom.
behind the scenes lady. She's the one who makes all this happen around here. So I think lately, like I had in 2021 I had my daughter, and then in 2022 I had my son.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I think being, kind of navigating the growth of this business, being the general manager of this business, having two very young children, it's something that it's been hard. And, I've kind of been working on a concept of more, instead of trying to find like that constant balance or keeping all the balls in the air, or, the 82 different blog types you'll find if you Google working mom. It's really kind of this concept of a pendulum, and that, the pendulum, there are times where, it'll swing really far into farm. It'll swing really far into work. Sometimes you have to make it swing the other way. But at the end of the day, it does stop in the middle. So it is something like mentally, metaphorically, my pendulum is always in my backpack, I guess.
I like
Trying
it.
to keep me somewhat sane.
Question from Daddy Brogan.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you have Macintosh and do you ship?
So, Daddy Rogan. Oh, look at you. Did Val pay you to ask
I'm
him?
such a big fan of early matches. The very first Macs of the season.
Yep. Yeah. So we do have Macintosh. We actually have a lot of Macintosh varieties. We have Linda Mac, Ruby Mac, Early Mac, and we do ship. We actually do. We do have an e-commerce that we open in the fall, and we have 8 ship dates between September, October, November, and December. And we do apples, and we do ship donuts, and we do ship hard cider, and we do
Hey.
ship fun little gift boxes.
Where can
So,
people find that in the fall once it's open?
Online, ciderhill.com and /shop.
Slash
Nice.
shop.
Val will take care of you. Just call on us
Thank
for
you,
that.
Val. I forgot her big cue cards at home for her to write on.
It does remind me of a story about my grandfather on my mom's side of the family. He lived in a farm in North Amity, Maine. And he ran just sort of a small working farm, but he was a mechanic for people with tractors.
Yep.
So he saw me down playing on one of the tractors, and he thought, this is the thing. I really praise him for that.
Whoa.
Thought I was like,
Hey, nobody ever gets the end of the story.
Yeah.
And so he sees me on the tractor. He thinks, maybe my grandson is going to be like into tractors.
I hope this isn't a
Yeah.
private
He
story
comes
because
out and goes, "Are you driving the tractor? You hit the button, it didn't stop."
I didn't stop it because I wanted